What's up, guys? So TwitchCon was not the place to be the other week. There was actually numerous people who got hurt in the Twitch Foam Pit, including Adriana Chechik, which probably got the worst of it. So the question is, who's liable? Is there anyone liable? And if so, why are they liable? And what's going to happen? So what is TwitchCon? TwitchCon is where a whole bunch of Twitch streamers come together. This year is in San Diego. And they all came together, did some fun stuff. And unfortunately, not everywhere there was safe. Adriana Chechik was one of the Twitch streamers that came there, and Intel and Lenovo were actually having an exhibit there where different streamers could get on these two pedestals and fight like gladiators with big old rods and knock each other off of the two pedestals in the middle of this foam pit. There's numerous people who partook in this, and unfortunately, some people got injured. And we're going to talk about two of those people today. The first one was Adriana Chechik. So Adriana Chechik had the opportunity to duel out in this gladiator-style foam pit against another individual. And unfortunately, although she won that match, she also got really injured. So let's take a look at that. She says, "I can't get out."
Are you okay? She's held down by the pit bull. Medic! No, she's fine.
She's fine. What they didn't know at this time was she actually broke her back in two different places. But she's fine.
Now she lives in the pit now, kind of thing.
So let's take a look at that, how she landed on the... So she just won. Now... You can see her just bounce off. She does splits thing. Boom. Gosh. So the question is who's liable in this situation? Is Adriana liable because she's the one that partook in this activity? Did she sign a waiver that would eliminate liability of anyone else? Is TwitchCon liable because this is their event? And is Lenovo or Intel liable because this is their kind of exhibit? So let's take a look at that. For negligence, so this is your typical negligence case. And in a negligence case, you have to prove different elements. And those elements is there was a duty, there was a breach of that duty, there were damages or injuries, and that breach of that duty caused those injuries. So you have to prove really those four main elements to be able to prevail on a negligence claim. And so in this situation, the foam pit really wasn't built like it should be. We got to start with, before we can get to TwitchCon, we need to talk about Lenovo or Intel's liability of the foam pit. And really, the foam pit was not built like it should be. If you look at this foam pit, as you can see from this, there's concrete on the bottom, and the foam is honestly maybe 2 feet high, maybe 3 feet high at the most. And that is, I mean, it's straight concrete underneath. There's no trampoline. That is not very much cushion of foam to be jumping into or falling into. The test that you have to use in negligence is it is reasonably foreseeable that someone could get injured in this foam pit. And with the lack of foam cubes that they have, it's reasonably foreseeable that someone could get injured in this foam pit. Obviously, Adriana did get hurt, so we've got damages, and obviously her jump into the foam pit did cause those injuries. But did Intel and Lenovo owe her a duty? And did they breach that duty? I'd argue, yes, they did owe her a duty because they had this exhibit out for people to go into. Obviously, those foam cubes are in there to break a fall so that you're not landing on the concrete, maybe. And it's reasonably expected that those foam cubes would be able to break your fall so you didn't hit the concrete. In this situation, those foam cubes were not deep enough, and Adriana jumped in there and injured her back, broke her back in 2 different places. So causation and damages is there. And so I think it is a great negligence case against Intel Lenovo for not building a proper foam pit. And if we look at this next picture, this is how foam pits should be built. There's feet and feet, at least 10 feet, where there's foam cubes in there. There's a trampoline underneath, and then even underneath that trampoline, there's foam pylons. And if you compare that to what we got right here, it's not even close. There's concrete right under a couple feet of foam cubes. I don't know who they had to make this exhibit or what they were going off of, but they are in trouble, and they should be held liable to Adriana's injuries. Now comes in the question of, did she sign a waiver? I don't know. It's possible. People have been saying that they had to sign a waiver to go in there to duel in the gladiator style fight, but I don't know. Also, the 2 things that really matter is what the waiver said and also the state law. And since this was in San Diego, it would depend on California law to see whether a waiver was actually binding or not. But she was not the only one hurt. There was another individual who was hurt, and her name is Lock Vanessa, is what she goes by on Twitter, and I assume on her Twitch streaming channel. She says, "I will never be able to trust Twitch at another convention in my entire life. Here's how I dislocated my knee and sprained my ankle at their Lenovo Legion booth." And she wins. You can tell when she jumps in there that how she landed on her knee and her face after that, she's pretty hurt. And unfortunately, we can't see her reaction after that first initial reaction. But obviously, she dislocated her knee and sprained her ankle. Obviously, this looks especially bad on TwitchCon and Intel and Lenovo because someone, I don't remember the order, but one of them was injured before the other. That means they knew that this foam pit was dangerous, and they kept letting people fight in there, even though they knew it was dangerous. And that's grounds for punitive damages, in my opinion, which is over and above and to deter certain conduct. And so they could be looking at some serious trouble in that situation. Lock Vanessa goes on to say, "Listen, guys, I promise I'm okay. Catch me beeping around TwitchCon." So she's in a wheelchair. Now, for her case, she says, "I promise I'm okay." That's probably not the best for her case, but she's probably just trying to put out a facade, and that can be an argument for what exactly she means by that. But the defense would definitely use that against her in a trial. She goes on to say, "Something that doesn't sit right with me is that it has been well over a week, and I have yet to hear anything from either companies about the situation. Absolutely nothing. This speaks wonders." It's surprising that TwitchCon or Intel, Lenovo, they didn't even reach out to her. And that's concerning. They didn't even reach out to see how she was doing. Didn't offer to pay for the medical bills. If I was her, I would get a lawyer immediately. But TwitchCon, Lenovo, Intel, they might be talking to their lawyers, and their lawyers might be advising them not to have any communication with her, which there's a balance. Their lawyers don't want their companies to be admitting any liability, but I think it would be smart to at least check in to see how she's doing, because that shows that the companies actually care. It's not only a PR move, but you don't look like a jerk in front of a jury. So Adriana Chechik was also tweeting and said, "Well, I broke my back in 2 places and I'm getting surgery to put a metal rod, maybe it's a meter long. I don't know. A rod in for support today. Send your support. When it rains, it pours. I'm definitely feeling the rain right now." Logic actually tweeted and said, "Second streaming to break something this TwitchCon 2022. I'm not sure who that is, but the fact that this might be up to 3 people that are injured and they're still not doing anything about it, that goes back to what we were talking about, that they knew something was wrong and continued to let people fight on there. It's also come out that some people are saying that's Adriana's fault for jumping into the foam pit like she did. She tweets back at people saying, "For the people asking, why did you jump? Don't try and turn me into the bad guy. I am among all those who assumed it was met with proper safety precautions. It's like getting to a car assuming the airbag will work and it doesn't. I'm not at fault. None of the victims injured are. I probably wouldn't necessarily use that analogy, but she's right. It's not necessarily her fault. I mean, if I was in the foam pit fighting on one of the pedestals, I would expect that I can jump in there any way I want and be totally fine. I wouldn't have to be worried about injuring my back or any other body part. I would expect there to be enough foam in there to catch on any falls or jumps into the foam pit, but there weren't. Let me know in the comments what you think. Whose fault is it? Is it Adriana's and all those who are hurt? Is it TwitchCon's for letting them have that event there? Is it Lenovo and Intel's fault for having the exhibit, letting people fight in there, continuing to let people fight in there, and having the foam pit where there's not much foam in there? Let me know in the comments what you think, who you think is liable, and what a jury would do. And to end this video, we got this tweet from Bum Kano. Just got back from TwitchCon Foam Pit, and I thought that was pretty funny. So, all right, let me know what you guys think, and we'll keep following this, see if there are any lawsuits filed, and what's going to happen with this case. But make sure to let me know what you all think in the comments.